Thomas, it's up for grabs now.
Magic ball from Bergkamp to Patrick Vieira.
Oh, would you believe it? Oh, right, what a way to get it.
Fabulous solo goal by Thierry Henry.
Good evening. I know David loved that intro. Welcome to the Arsenal Lounge. This is a special North London derby edition of the Arsenal Lounge. So I know you guys are getting goosebumps and are getting a bit of butterflies because I am. I'm not going to lie. I'm getting a bit nervy. I'm not going to give it the old big up and ego stuff. And look, some people bottled it. Some people didn't want to be here, but some people have got minerals. And I'll have to say, David Harris, the Irish Hotspur, has minerals. He's on our show today to discuss the North London derby. How you doing, brother?
No, I'm absolutely buzzing. First of all, thank you for asking me to come on. It was a pleasant surprise. And look, hopefully we can have a good discussion here going into the North London derby. Look, the way I see it, both teams are on an even keel now for the first time in a long time. You know, who's going to kick on from here? But I do want to say, I didn't like the pictures in the intro, but whoever made the intro, props to them. It's quality.
I actually made the theme tune. Not bad, huh? But thank you for that,
quality,
David.
Quality, fair
Thank
play.
you, bro. Next time we'll try and blur it out for you. No, we won't. Anyway, and here with us, you all know who he is. True Gunners TV. Brandon is in the house today, repping Arsenal, and he's in the clock end by the looks of it. How you doing?
The clock end, exactly that.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
You're right about David. You know, having the minerals to come on. He can't be a Tottenham fan. He must support some other club, surely.
No,
do you know what I mean? They're likely to bottle it.
Irish, mate. They don't bottle it. They're there. They're there. They front it. Whether we agree with them or not, they'll front it. They don't care. So respect to that, and thank you for coming on as well, Brandon. So today, look, we want to discuss the North London derby. I want to get into like the Spurs mentality, the Spurs fans mentality, and just to let you guys know in the chats as well. Thank you for coming and joining us. Please, treat this like it's my home. Treat this like David is my guest in my home. Treat him with respect. He's here. We can have banter. But anyone I see getting over the top gets out. That's it. It's as simple as that. So before we move on, right? So look, my brother actually is a Spurs fan. I don't tell people this much, and I still love my brother, right? So we draw the line at being Spurs fans. But over the years, obviously, and I'll start with you, David. Over the years, I've had the lion's share of the success, right? Let's be honest. Yeah, we've had loads of success. We were quite fortunate to have the Wenger era. I've been supporting Arsenal since the 70s, 80s, really. Well, I was old enough to remember from the 80s. So I've had the bad times, but I've had a lot of good times. Now we've gone through a bad time. Spurs fans, you've gone through the ringer a lot. So I've never understood the mentality of being a Spurs fan because there's always this, in my head, there's always this unwavering level of confidence and belief and like that you're a better team and you're going to do well this season. This season's the season. And we used to have those songs with Chaz and Dave and it's lucky for Spurs when the year ends in one and all that shit. So tell me now how you, firstly, how you started being a Spurs fan. That would be quite interesting. And then how you're feeling as a Spurs fan over the last couple of seasons, especially right now, and where you feel, this is all going after, as we progress on to the next game.
Yeah, look, first of all, I don't mind Arsenal fans giving me banter. Look, at the end of it, that's what all this is about.
No, bro, you're a guest, man. You're a guest.
No, look, I enjoy it. I give me a bit of banter. It's all good. I love it. I do love it. Look,
give it to him then, boys.
Give it to me. No, I enjoy it. It's what rivalry's all about. It's what rivalry is all about. But look, how I got into supporting Spurs, actually, believe it or not. So I actually used to live in Croydon when I was younger.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, nice. Croydon, when I was younger. My old lad is a Spurs fan, and he used to go down to the game. So he used to bring me with him. And, since then, it's just really took off. And, then we moved back to Ireland, and I couldn't go to the games and stuff like that. But my passion or my love for the club never died. And over here, it was even hard at the time when I was younger to get highlights. I mean, of the Spurs games. It was all through teletext and stuff like that. I'm showing my age now. But,
I remember those days, mate. Don't worry.
Yeah, but look, being a Spurs fan, the mentality of a Spurs fan, look, we are living off our history a bit, first English team to win a European trophy, first English team to do the double, and we have been known to pick up, a couple of cups every decade up until the Daniel Levy era, and that's where it kind of really has dried up since the guy has come in. Look, you can look at the stadium, you can look at the training complex, and you can say he's done well there. But on the football pitch, we have been in decline since we sacked Pochettino. And look, I think a lot where the cockiness comes from, especially of recent, is what we've done under Pochettino. Champions League final, 2 league title chases.
Fair enough.
A League Cup final, couple of semi-finals, couple of FA Cup semi-finals and stuff like that. And I think that's where it comes from. And, that cockiness, because it was the first time, especially of my generation, where you could actually stand up and be counted. You could puff your chest out, because we were one of the best teams in the league playing some of the best football. It was getting to the point where Fraud Sports, who give us a hard time all the time, they were praising us on Sky Sports and stuff like that. But look, that's where it comes from. But ultimately, it's getting to the point now where Spurs fans are restless. We just want to see trophies. But how can you go from being in a Champions League final to finishing in the Europa Conference League in such a small space of time? It's unheard of. That's a dramatic decline, and that can't keep continuing. And that's purely because, and the reason why we sacked Pochettino, boys, in my opinion, and the way I saw it is, look, Pochettino told us in that summer we need a big painful rebuild. He could see what was happening. Toby was getting on in age. Jan was getting on in age. We needed a new left back. We needed a new defense, really, if we're being honest. Probably a couple of centre midfielders as well. But at the time when Pochettino was getting sacked, our problem wasn't scoring goals. We were scoring goals, but our problem was leaking goals. And I think that's why we ended up bringing in Jose Mourinho, because he was touted as the best defensive manager in the world. And I believe they brought him in to save money, thinking he could tighten up that defense and we could just go again. And it hasn't been like that. And recently, look, I'm sure you'd know with your brother, we just want trophies, man. That's all we want. That's what every player is in the game to do. Whether you support someone down in non-league or whether you support someone up in the Premier League, at the end of the day, you always want trophies. And look, the type of fan I am, I go into every single season believing. I just have to, because if I don't, what's the point in going into the season? What's the point?
Yeah, no, I hear you. It's been similar for us recently. Like, for the first time over this last 10, 15 years or so, maybe a little bit more, started to understand what it's like being a Spurs fan, in the sense of it's the hope that kills you. You're almost there, but you never are. And it's been happening to us. But look, I'll let Brandon explain. Brandon, firstly, if it's probably, is it the first time you met David, by the way?
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
You want to give him a little bit of background where, how you ended up supporting Arsenal and where you think it's going as well, just to give everyone a little sort of background on you both.
Similar thing, really. I kind of had a different sort of thing where I had a choice between Manchester United and Arsenal. And it was at the time as well, because I'm only 26. So it was at the time where, both the teams were, constantly fighting for league titles and stuff like that, playing good football. My dad supported Manchester United. My stepdad supported Arsenal. And it was kind of a toss-up between the two. And I fell in love with Arsenal more than what I did Manchester United.
Oh, that must have killed your dad.
I'm sorry about that.
You got to have that rivalry with your dad as well. It's great to have that rivalry.
It's so funny you said that, because my dad was a Spurs fan as well. Just thought I'd drop that in there. Anyway, go on, carry on.
I would never go against my old lad with the club he supports. Never. I don't know how. That's why you're Gooners, I suppose, isn't it?
My old man got me back a good one. My old man got me back a good one because he got us tickets to go and watch Arsenal versus Manchester United. It was at Old Trafford, and he said, "Look, you're going to have to sit in the United end because that's what I've got the tickets for. But at least you'll go, get to go and see Arsenal versus Man United." And it was the game that Manchester United beat us 8-2. So not a great day that day. And that's kind of how I got into Arsenal. I'm dissimilar to most of the majority of the Arsenal fans of my age now. A lot of them have grew up on the Wenger era, where almost like top 4 is a trophy. Whereas I go back a little bit further. I'm lucky enough to have been able to see Arsenal win the league and get far, make the final in the Champions League against Barcelona. So I've seen the likes of Henry, Bergkamp, players like that. So I know where the standards should be at Arsenal Football Club, and that's why I'm kind of unhappy as to how the situation has become towards the end of Wenger's era, going into the Emery era and Arteta era. So I do see some improvements. And I say this all the time. I'm always going to be majorly critical of the club because at the end of the day, Arsenal are the third biggest club in England. You know, they do have a major history of winning major honours. And we ultimately knocked down a stadium in order to become the best and compete with the best. And since we did that, we haven't done that at all. So that's where I'm at with the whole Arsenal situation. But this is going to be a massive game. It's going to be a huge game. It's probably the biggest North London derby in recent times because, like, you know, David kind of explained, both teams are on sort of an even keel at the moment. You know, fighting for Champions League is kind of where both teams have become. What I would say is, you know, even though we've been going through a grotty time of recent, we have still been winning the odd trophy, you know, the odd FA Cup and that. Spurs, nah, you know, bottle it, Champions League final, bottle it, semi-final. So it's not as bad being an Arsenal fan as what it is being a Spurs fan, I suppose, you know.
You know what? You're right there. Look, I think in a way we've been a bit spoiled, right? Because being fans from the 70s and 80s onwards, you were used to seeing shit for a while. You were used to it. Like, you'd literally go from, oh, we're doing really well, and then suddenly when the team goes into transition for the next phase of players because everyone's aged, it wasn't like it is now. It took even longer at times. And, you know, so I do think our fans, especially the ones during the Wenger era, you know, like yourself, no disrespect, Brandon, you know, 26, you grew up as a kid seeing nothing but success. So then when that suddenly disappears, you think you're owed that success again. And sometimes we do have, maybe, in my opinion, a little bit sense of entitlement. But there's a few similarities with us and Spurs at the moment in the sense of they're going through managers. They recently had to chop and change. They made a bad decision with Nuno. I thought was a bad decision from the get-go. And then they've had to chop that halfway through a season and then bring in Conte eventually. They're not happy with their board. We haven't been happy with our board for years. I like to ask David this question, and I do want to delve into more about the season and obviously where we think it's all going to go tomorrow. But this Daniel Levy thing surprises me, David, and I don't get to ask this question much, right? So that's why I want to ask it, bro. Like, from my perspective, as an outsider, as an Arsenal fan, I'm used to seeing Spurs always second to Arsenal over the years. You can't deny that, right? And we've obviously had a hell of a lot more success than you guys over the years. However, Daniel Levy comes in. Suddenly, this team that we've seen for years as our sort of ugly sister next door, or ugly brother next door, whatever you want to call it, suddenly starts changing. Suddenly, they've got a bit of ambition. Suddenly, they're going out and getting players. And suddenly, you know, a few big players that became big, made them some money, like your Bales of this world and all of that. And suddenly, there was a snowball effect. And the next thing we notice, you guys are getting a new stadium. And you guys are in the top four. And you guys are challenging for Champions League and getting to the final. But yet, Levy gets so much stick. And this is where I think you guys may also be suffering from a little bit of that entitlement as fans, because all of a sudden the expectations have sort of, the aspirations have risen out of nowhere over the last few years. And it's like you guys expect it year in, year out now. Tell me about this Levy situation, because for me, it baffles me a little bit.
Look, up to a certain point, I think Tottenham were going in the right direction, you know. But when it came to Pochettino, I mean, the Champions League final, that season we sold Dembele, our best midfielder. And don't get me wrong, injury prone, yes. But we sold him in the January transfer window and we let him go. We didn't replace him. And we were left with the likes of Moussa Sissoko and Harry Winks, who are nowhere near the guy's quality. When Yama was also crocked that season, ended up, you know, he was gone. He was finished. So we ended up with a midfielder, Sissoko and Winks. You know, not back in Pochettino and some of the transfer windows, in the January transfer windows when you're pushing for league titles. You know, it's criminal when you just know, when you're looking at the squad and you're like, just one or two players away here. And we got complacent. The board just got happy with achieving top four at all costs. They didn't really to Spurs fans, they just didn't show enough ambition in the times where they could have. Because we have to remember, look, I'm not in any doubt that the reason why we were going for league titles is Liverpool were in a rebuild, United were in a rebuild. Arsenal were sort of in a bit of a phase. Man City were going through a phase of rebuilding. So with Chelsea, so we were coming to the fore at the right time. And look, if we don't have the money to compete with the likes of a United, a City, and a Chelsea, and the oligarch money, but then you've got to capitalize on every opportunity you can to try and stay ahead or try and at least stay on that level. And we didn't do it. And then when we got to the Champions League final, we could all see, look, maybe this was the culmination of everything. And it was starting to come to a bit of an end because the Champions League, the run to the Champions League final, masked our league form. Our league form for that November to the end of the season was absolutely shocking. It was up and down. It was all over the place. And we could all see what was coming. We could all see that if you don't replace players, you're going to be left with players like Ben Davies and Eric Dyer, who's been here 8-9 years. I mean, there's going to be people that are going to be buying tickets to the guy's testimonial in 2 years' time. And players like that who haven't offered anywhere near enough to Tottenham Hotspur on the pitch do not deserve to be here that long. We failed to rotate the squad a number of times. And look, the whole lot of it came to the decision with the stadium. Now, look, I can get having to move to a big stadium because if you want to keep up with the revenue of the top clubs, you have to have that seater stadium. You have to have the infrastructure and stuff like that to be bringing in massive revenues because we were competing with White Hart Lane and the revenues we were creating from that stadium. We were going above and beyond against some of the clubs we were competing with, in my opinion. But the time of the stadium, you look at it, we went that whole season unbeaten at White Hart Lane. You invest just a little bit more into that squad. You're going into the new season, into the new stadium, with a squad that can actually compete. Now, look, we've built a brand new stadium, supposedly, which actually it is. It's the best stadium in world football. It is unbelievable.
Yeah, it will be. It will be.
But the thing is, we just don't have the players on the pitch to complement what we have in terms of infrastructure. I mean, Dele Alli was allowed to sit around here for 3 years without performing. That should never happen at a top club in the Premier
League. Agree.
And there's countless of examples of that. Mismanagement of money. The likes of Ndombele coming in on huge wages, huge transfer fees. And you're having to pull the guy out the local McDonald's. You have Lo Celso who just never cut it. Apparently he was ignorant around the training ground. And the thing is, we had lost the whole. Our scouting network was completely running down. The guy that was in charge, he listened to Steve Hitchen more than he did Pochettino or Jose Mourinho, who were telling him, look, we need these players. We need these sort of caliber players. The players we're working with is not good enough. But he listened to Steve Hitchen, and Steve Hitchen was given 350 million over his tenure and completely misspent it. I went through the signing. Not one of them, would I say, has been a quality signing for Tottenham. And there's just been lots of mismanagement. Daniel Levy has kept his eye on the finances. Look, he's an accountant. He's trained never to go against the numbers. But as football fans, all we're asking for is, a bit of a fine line. Sometimes go with the numbers. We can accept that. But sometimes break the bank and try and help the team. And what we were seeing as a football product on the pitch was nowhere near the quality that we were promised when we were given a new stadium, when we were given the new training complex, a bit similar to Arsenal. They failed to deliver on what they were going to promise us. And at the end of the day, as football fans, we don't care about the infrastructure. We just care about what we see on a football pitch. We just want our team to win. And with these guys coming into football, I get that people can say, fans think they have a right to win every week, but I mean, we also have to remember we were in danger of losing the game. They wanted to take the Premier League, so of course we have a right. If these big money men are going to come in and they don't have the passion or the support for the club that we have, but yet they want our following and they use our following to spread the message worldwide to get behind this club and the reasons why and everything else, then yes, we should have a say and we should have demands.
No, listen, I mean, the more we talk, the more there's similarities between our clubs. I think maybe we're a little bit further, we're obviously a little bit further down the line than you are, in the sense of one thing we could say about Wenger, as great a manager as was, he also had the foresight to understand that to try and compete financially, you got to move to a bigger stadium. He was one of the first to do it. He did that. And I think we kind of did reap the benefits, but our gripe as fans was similar to yours in a sense of spend the money. You say, the reason you guys are a bit sort of arsey with Levy is the fact that you were two or three players off, couple of players off. You could see it. He wasn't adding. Well, you want to try being Arsenal fans. I'm sure Brandon can tell you, like, when we were holding on to top four for 20 odd years, we were always 2 or 3 players away. Brandon, I'm sure you can, you've heard what David's had to say. I mean, what's your thoughts on it?
Oh, mate, I agree with everything that David just said there about Spurs. And
wait, this ain't going to plan. You can't do that.
What kind of surprises me about the whole Spurs situation is, and it surprises me massively, really, you would have thought they would have learnt by the mistakes that Arsenal made,
Good point.
By moving into a new stadium and not competing, not having that extra money, giving that extra money to spend to Wenger and stuff like that. Just being happy with being in top 4, and then eventually it all crumbles. It all comes to a head, and eventually you can't keep to that level anymore. And you kind of see it again with exactly the same thing with Spurs. They started to taste a little bit of success, and when I say success, I mean they was constantly getting that Champions League money. They was starting to qualify consistently for Champions League.
I was getting worried, not going to lie.
Into a position where they could potentially take that step further and start competing properly for trophies and stuff like that. And then they build this new stadium, and then like David just said, you see so many similarities between what happened to Pochettino and what happened to Arsene Wenger. It is absolutely unreal, and it baffles me how these football clubs don't learn from other clubs' mistakes. Do you know what I mean? Especially with Arsenal being Tottenham's biggest rival as well. You would have thought they'd be looking at what Arsenal had done, gone, right, we're going to do a similar thing because we need to for revenue. We need to for, sponsorships and stuff like that. We need to move to a bigger stadium in order to be able to compete with the best. But we're not going to make the same mistakes that they did. And they just pretty much followed exactly what we did. And it's like, well, more fool then for me.
Fair enough. Go on, David.
Just another part is as well, like we were sacking, like we went from Pochettino to Jose Mourinho. How can you have 2 different styles of play, 2 different
philosophies?
Philosophies, how to approach the game. It's unbelievable. There's no concession plan. If you're going to sack Pochettino, bring in someone that plays on the front foot. Football, see what they can do. Then you go from Jose Mourinho to Nuno. You sacked Jose Mourinho 6 days before a cup final. If anybody's going to win you give you a chance against Man City, is it Jose Mourinho or Ryan Mason? It's Jose Mourinho all day long. He's proven it on his CV. But the reason why we sacked Jose at the time we did was because there was something in his contract that it made it cheaper to sack him before giving him the opportunity to win us a trophy, rather than giving him that opportunity, which is unforgivable in my eyes. I don't understand how you can send a rookie into a cup final against Pep Guardiola and Man City, who've been cleaning up for years. It's absolutely unbelievable. And like Brandon was saying as well, the example was right down the road. And all you had to do was learn from their mistakes, and you could have a nice, easy transition into a new stadium. But we didn't want to learn from it. You're talking about a chairman that, look, he put a bonus in his own contract if he delivered the stadium on time. He didn't deliver it on time, but still got his bonus. And he's taking his bonus when the quality on the football pitch is at its lowest point in probably decades. It just, things don't add up, and that's what annoys Spurs fans. Some of these people with the billions of money or the millions of money, they don't do things that make sense. Like me, if I delivered the stadium late, I knew the fans already had a problem with me, and I wasn't spending transfer markets. I'd say, okay, club, it's not a good look for me. I won't take this bonus, but he took it, and it's things like that just wind up the Spurs fans. It's the excuses every transfer window. We're going to go big. We're going to promise this. We're going to get this. And you're just constantly left underwhelmed every single time. It's not good enough from the owner. And all we want is just for him, and it's not just him. Look, we have to understand, he is the guy that is paid to be the front. There's other people behind him, Joe Lewis and people in the Enoch group that, where the real decisions and the shots come from. He's just a paid front man. But what we're asking for is just him to show that little bit of ambition that when you are close to things, okay, maybe we came closer on the pitch than what we wanted, than what they wanted in their timescale, and that wasn't their priority. But at the end of the day, sometimes you've just got to, You've got to seize the moment and you've got to go for it. And we've just failed to do that. And that's what winds Spurs fans up.
You know what? We get wound up as fans, both sets of fans. I think it's now that we're discussing this, we're kind of getting wound up about some very, very similar things. We've been suffering a lot longer in the sense of we had that success and then it's dragged on and on and on. And we kind of always knew we were holding on by our fingertips of that top four spot. So now that the shoe's on the other foot, you're kind of seeing it yourself. It's like we were there and we were like, just move that little bit extra. Just buy that central midfielder that we need. Buy that centre forward that we need. Stop trying to cheap it out. And it affected us. And that's why we're in this situation now. And ironically, it could be why, you drop out the top four, for example. And so this is a perfect segue to move this into present day. So obviously, I'll let Brandon fill you in on how he feels on our manager and that sort of thing, because I'd like to hear from you, David, in a short while, how you feel about Conte, because a lot of the Spurs fans seem to sing his praises, but then you're saying potentially that they're playing the worst type of football that you've seen recently, I think you were saying. But Brandon, I mean, you want to fill David in as to how you feel about our management and where it's been going, and generally how you feel about this season.
Yeah, so to put it quite simply, I think, obviously this game's massive in terms of top four. But when you look at both clubs, even if Arsenal was to qualify for top four this season and Champions League, or even Spurs, I wouldn't trust either club to take that next step. Do you know what I mean? Like, I look at the people that we're run by, and I look at how the Kroenkes treat arguably our greatest manager in our history, in the sense that, top four is acceptable, just keep consistently delivering that. Can I now trust these owners to change that mentality with Arteta? Once he qualifies for the Champions League, which he eventually hopefully will, even if he doesn't do that this season, are we going to become that club again that's happy with top four? And that's it. And I see the same thing with Tottenham. Just because they've got a world-class manager, in my opinion, in Antonio Conte, doesn't mean that they're going to necessarily give him the funds and then what he needs in order to take Tottenham the next step further, because history suggests not. Do you know what I mean? So with terms of Arteta, I'm not a massive fan of Arteta. I didn't want him in the first place because, as I've previously explained, my ambitions and my expectations for Arsenal is up here. I don't listen to I'm not one for, you've got to trust the process, you've got to build a type of project or anything like that. My mentality is, we knocked down a stadium 18 years ago to become the best and compete with the best. So we've waited 18 years now as Arsenal fans, and it's not happened. So rather than making excuses, because we are one of the largest clubs in world football, we do have an awful lot of revenue and money that we can spend. We've proven that, in the last 3 to 4 years, we've outspent pretty much everybody.
Well, yeah, but I'm just sorry to interrupt, Brandon, but I mean, obviously you were saying you was worried about whether they'll back him, but I was going to say, we have spent quite a lot of money. Isn't that not a sign of him being backed?
Exactly that. But is it going to be, we're backing him to a certain degree to get him to back, get him back to a certain position where we need to be in order to get that money again? And then, it's all about keeping us there. Or we're going to back him even further, say, for example, give him another 250 million in this summer in order to take Arsenal that next step further. I don't know. It'll be interesting to see. But yeah, like I say, for me, I don't want to hear about processes and all this. You know what I mean? Just compete. Just do what you're supposed to do. Do what you promised us to do. Buy the right players. The reason why we have a youth project at the moment is it's because it's by design. Because it takes the pressure off the owners. It takes the pressure off the manager to have to achieve something. If we went out and spent that £250 million and we didn't buy Odegaard, for example, we went and brought James Maddison instead, for 70 million quid, the expectation would be higher because James Maddison is a better player than Martin Odegaard, for example.
You think so?
Yeah, I do. Yeah, I do. You look at his goal scoring record, his assists as well. You know, he's proven himself in the Premier League. Even though Leicester are not doing that great this season, you know, he's been one of their standout players. And I just think him in this Arsenal side, for example, would be providing more assists. He'll be scoring more goals, and he'd just be an overall better, more threat than what Martin Odegaard is. That's not saying that Martin Odegaard is a poor player, because I don't think Odegaard is a poor player. I just think he's not technically of the same ability and the same position within his career as what James Maddison is. You know, a couple more years in the Premier League, maybe Martin Odegaard could be very similar to James Maddison. I think it's just the lack of experience in the Premier League for me. Who knows? But there's a reason why one of the players was quoted as £30 million and one of them was quoted as £70 million.
But can we not say that's English tax?
You could say that's English tax, but you could also say that over the past 10 years, you look at Real Madrid, how the players that they've, you know, kind of let go, how many have gone on to do bigger and better things? You know, not many. So they don't tend to get it wrong. And if they're only quoting £30 million as well, there's a reason for that. Do you know what I mean? Like, so for me, I don't buy into all this. I just think, you know, do what you're supposed to do. Go and compete. I'm not asking for Arsenal to win the league every year or the Champions League every year. I just want them to compete. That's all, you know. And when I see, for example, Arsenal fans celebrating the way that they are at the moment about us being potentially back in Champions League, and look, it is exciting because we haven't had Champions League for 6 years. For me, Arsenal should have never have gone back as far as what they did, you know, to 8th place in the league. It should never, ever have happened. And it's happened under the same ownership that we're trusting this process. Do you know what I mean? Like the same ownership ran the process that was comfortable with top 4 under Arsene Wenger.
So, do you not feel like they've learned from that, though? I mean, firstly, I'll have to say
who knows
as well, I've disagreed with you on Odegaard. I think he's one thing I will say about Odegaard is he's technically extremely gifted. He's a very, very technical footballer. I think Maddison is a bit more dynamic, maybe, and can drive at the, you know, in the box and get goals. But I think Odegaard, and I think he's been brilliant these last few months, to be honest with you. But do you think that they've learned? Do you think that the board has learned, and that's why they've backed him?
I agree with you on Odegaard. I think he has been very good, and I think you'll find as well that if Odegaard plays well, we play well. I think that's why he's also being touted as being the next captain in the side, because he's basically the orchestrator, you know. And I noticed that a lot with Arsenal this season. If Odegaard plays well, we play well. If he doesn't play well, we don't play well. So it's kind of like that's where I think the captaincy could potentially be coming from as well, because he seems to be Arteta's main man, and we'll see where that goes. In terms of whether the Cronkies have learnt from that or not, we'll find out in the summer. Because if we beat Spurs on Thursday and we qualify for Champions League, then we'll see whether the Cronkies are serious or not. You know,
will we beat
it's
Spurs?
Not so much about Arteta anymore. Do you know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
I've been in this camp where I'm Arteta out, because I don't ever think he's going to be the man to take us back to the pinnacle, which is winning league titles and Champions Leagues and stuff like that. But in terms of his new contract now, that's not his fault. Do you know what I mean? Like, if somebody knocked on your door and offered you £6 million a year to you know, be a manager of Arsenal Football Club, you're taking it all day long. I am as well. Even the Irish Hotspur will probably take £6 million a year to manage Arsenal. Do you know what I mean? So,
well, that's an interesting. I mean, look, what about this season, Brandon? I mean, what I don't want to do is get caught up too much about all our issues in the sense. So let's bring it to today in the sense of this season. Arteta's performance for you this season. I'd like to honestly to you know what the funny thing. Let's switch it. Irish Hotspur, you tell us what you feel. How you feel Arteta's been performing for us and what you see from your side of the table. And then I'll go to Brandon and ask him what he sees in regards to what Conte's been doing and where Spurs are at the moment. Irish Hotspur, Go for it.
Look, I'll try and be as nice as possible when it comes to Mikel Arteta. Look, first of all, I think aside the club of Arsenal, he should be nowhere near the manager's seat, in my opinion. I think you should have someone of stature like we have with Conte, Chelsea with Tuchel, City with Guardiola, and Liverpool with Klopp. I believe that's the sort of manager you should be having in the door, in my opinion. But look, with Arteta, I do think that having no European football, went out the FA Cup early, more or less playing one game a week, has really suited him and that Arsenal team. If you get Champions League next season, I think you go back to the same form that you were in the season before when you did have European football. Look, I just don't think Arteta is a good fit. Look, he was a right fit in terms of maybe steadying the ship, but there will come a point where you have to get rid of him and bring in the guy that can bring you on to the very next level. Because, look, the only reason, in my opinion, why people might think he has that ability is because he was Pep's side man, Pep's corn man at Man City, and I think he gets I think he gets a bit of a reputation off that undeservedly, in my opinion. If he didn't get top four, if he end up losing to us and dropping points in one of your last two games, I'd be sacking him and going again. I was very surprised you went into this season with him in the first place.
Okay, Brandon. Oh, let's just have a look at this right away. No nub, which doesn't sound great anyway. These scums get paid by rival clubs to put on Arsenal tops and talk absolute 100% garbage on YouTube. Do you know what? It always cracks me up to think what people. I've only been in the YouTube world for about just over a year and a half, right? Mm-hmm. So it makes me laugh with how some people are sitting at home, what they actually think. They think that Brandon or someone or whoever or you, Irish, will get paid to say stuff, and I wish that was the case. I'll be loaded by now. Brandon, Conte and Spurs. What's your thoughts?
Yeah, Conte. I mean, number one, I was very surprised that he went to Spurs in the first place. Very, very surprised. I think that's an absolute coup by Spurs. Conte is a winner. He took Chelsea from 10th position and won them the league the following year. Albeit, he struggled to begin with, and it was actually a 3-0 defeat against Arsenal that made him change his system in order for him to, go to a back five and change his system up to win the league. I think Conte, at the moment, you're not going to see the best from him because he hasn't had the money to spend. I think the moment that Conte starts getting a bit of money will be the moment that you'll start to see that Spurs team shape up a little bit more. And the one thing that I would say about Spurs is you look at their squad and their players, and the Irish Hotspur was saying earlier, a lot of them players have been there for a long time. It's not like they've been constantly refreshing their squad. And the one thing I would say is there's not really many winners in the Tottenham side at all. Do you know what I mean? Like Harry Kane, for as great as he is as a striker, and he is exceptional, and I don't think Spurs will ever produce a striker of his sort of level again because he's world class. The fact that he's been there and he's getting towards the end now of his peak of his career, and he hasn't won anything. It's just true.
Imagine scoring that many goals and not winning anything.
This is what I mean. So bringing in Conte is, exceptional by Spurs because they're showing something in the sense that you bring in a world-class manager, you're gonna start to see results somewhere along the line. You are. But you have to also match the ambition of that manager. And this is where it becomes a bit sticky for me because Conte, he's very ambitious. But these managers of world-class ilk, they want money. They want lots of money.
And what if they don't make top four? Just a question I'll throw in.
If they don't make top four, I don't think it will be...
Or when they don't.
You will.
No, I shouldn't have said that.
If they don't make top four, then I don't think that'll be the end of the world in terms of Conte. Bearing in mind that he will have demands. I think if Spurs don't get Champions League this season, he'll probably look at it and go, right, okay, well, I've brought in Bentancur and I've brought in Kulusevski, but that's all I've had to be able to bring in to Spurs at the moment. Give me money in the summer and we'll go again next season. But there will be a demand there where, if he doesn't get the money, I think he'll jump ship. I genuinely do.
Harry Kane's future is also tied to that, though, because Kane will not stay. Look, Kane wanted out under Nuno. He couldn't see a progression. He didn't see any chance of winning anything. And he was ready to jump ship. I mean, he was twerking for Man City with Gary Neville on Sky Sports. Who would ever thought you'd see something like that coming? But, look, Conte has been promised. I think he has been promised that there will be money for him this summer, and they'll be throwing all money at the senior squad this summer, not really bringing in too many young prospects or anything like that, not expected to whatsoever. And I think that then keeps Harry Kane. But for me, I think that keeping them two puts us in a better position going forward than maybe Arsenal. Because I look at Arsenal, you look at Arteta, yes, he steadied the ship. But if you had European football this year, you'd be nowhere near that top four, in my opinion. I don't think you have the squad. I look at Arsenal, and they haven't Ketty up front. Arsenal has always had good strikers down the air.
Yeah, true.
Henry, Bergkamp, but you look at the midfielders. You've got Aneni and Xhaka. You've had Ramsey, you've had Petit, you have had Vieira. You've had so much better players down the years. And where I actually think where it all started really kind of being unraveled for Arsenal was when they switched. Arsenal always had big, strong, physical players.
Yes, I know what you're going to say, David. Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, under Wenger, it started changing. You're seeing all these small little Oompa-Loompas coming in, all these little midgets coming in. And they just could not handle the physicality. And that's when you started seeing the likes of Arsenal struggle against some of the teams that they notoriously wouldn't have struggled against before, because they couldn't compete physically with some of the teams lower down, in my opinion, and they were being bullied. I think that's where it all started to unravel for Arsenal, and they haven't really been able to
we're trying to turn that round.
Back. And I think in order for you to claw that back, you have to go back down that route, that when you had your best team available, it was big, strong, physical boys, that could play football. But with Tottenham, we have a world-class manager in charge, like Brandon alluded to. Look, I think he's already proven to the board, if anyone can challenge for trophies next season out of the best of the rest, it's going to be Conte, providing he's given the backing this summer, because we've drew with Liverpool twice, unbeaten against one of the best teams in Europe, beating Man City twice. And if you want to win a Carabao Cup or even an FA Cup or go for a league, it's inevitable you're going to face one of them come in the later ends of the competition. And if Conte can already get results off them, using the likes of a Dyer, a Davies, and Emerson, players that probably will not be in the squad next season if we do get the backing we get. Imagine, the levels that this guy can compete on, where Arsenal still have to bring in world-class players into that team. They still have to bring in a manager, because the way I see it now, right, you look at a lot of the big clubs, Guardiola's a character, Klopp is a character, demands respect, Tuchel another one, Conte's another one. Mikel Arteta is not that sort of guy. And in order, management has changed. You can't just, bollock players and, do what he tried to do with Aubameyang, quickly out the door. Yes, sometimes, the way modern football is now, you need a big personality, a good character, someone that can handle themselves in all aspects in terms of respect from the players, respect from the owners, someone that, gets respect from the press and everything else at the end of the day. And if you want to be able to build a proper project and get the respect you deserve and get players to want to come to you, you need someone with character, someone with a bit about them, someone that also has that bit of fear factor. And I just don't think Arteta has it. And I think that's why you've gone down the route of having so many young players. It's a bit like Pochettino, because they will do anything you tell them to do so that they can achieve their dream and play in Arsenal's first team. But when the big stars come in, that's when the problems happen. You look at Pochettino. His best time at Tottenham was when he had all these players that were young and hungry, and they'd done everything he asked them to do in terms of meeting the running stats and everything during the week to even be in selection for the weekend, because we were the fittest team at that time. He goes to PSG, he can't get them to do that. I look at him a lot of the times in the Champions League, they're playing counter-attacking football. That's not Pochettino's style. And in order for Arsenal to change, they have to, and in order for them to get the best players in here, that a club like Arsenal and their fans should be deserving because of their history and some of the players they've seen walk through them doors. They have to start bringing in them players. They have to change our team because the big stars.
Sorry to interrupt, David, but won't top four help us with that? And you mentioned, all right, that you've still got players that you're not going to be using next season, right? And he's got them playing. That's in regards to Conte. Couldn't you argue the case that's the same with us, though? I mean, look, Eddie Nketiah, right? We know he's not good enough as fans. Lacazette, we know he's not good enough. Okay, Pepe, we know is not good enough. There's a number of fullbacks. Cedric is not good enough, right? We're relying on El Neni right now, but we still feel that El Neni and Xhaka can both be improved. So could you not argue that if we get top four, despite all of that, then we go into the window that our team's going to be even stronger in the sense of one thing we'll all say is the future looks bright when it comes to the youngsters. All our backliners are young, our keepers young. We brought in young midfielders. Our front line is young. I think where you guys have got us trumped is obviously with Harry Kane and Son up top. But personally, and I don't know if I'm being biased, but I probably wouldn't swap as many of the rest of the players. But Harry Kane and Son, I take all day long. Wouldn't you say that that's possible as well?
Can I answer that, Lev?
Yeah, go on, Brandon. You answer that, mate.
What I would say is to break down the first part of your argument with saying, Arteta getting the best out of, say, the players that we know are not good enough for the football club. El Neni playing for a new contract. Eddie Nketiah playing for a new contract or a move. Pepe, same, thing. So it's not even necessarily about Arteta getting the best out of him.
Is Pepe playing for a new contract? Jesus. Is Pepe playing for a new contract?
No, I think Pepe's playing for a move, to be honest with you. I don't think he'll be
He's doing a good job.
I genuinely don't. But I don't think it's that hard to get these players playing because, like I say, El Neni, new contract. Eddie Nketiah, new contract / maybe a move elsewhere or whatever. I do think Arteta has built a good foundation at Arsenal. The young players that we've got, they are talented. Bukayo Saka, Emil Smith-Rowe, Martinelli, they're good players. I think what we need next season, whether we get Champions League or not, is experience around them. And like I said, killers in front of goal as well, because we miss far too many chances that we create.
Yeah, 100%.
The problem's going to come with Arteta does he have the credentials to get in the top players that we need? The top players with experience that we need. This is the thing. I mean, I know he's won an FA Cup, and you could say, he's worked with Pep Guardiola, and he's taken Arsenal to a Champions League place. But you look at his reputation with the big name players. Like the Irish Hotspur was pointing out earlier, he fell out with Aubameyang pretty quick. He falls out with all these players and that. And I don't think that's because he's not got a strong character. I think that proves that he has got a strong character.
It's inexperience.
And he's actually quite arrogant with it as well. And, it's my
Isn't
way.
he learning on the job? He's learning on the job. He's going to make mistakes.
Yeah, no, 100%. 100% he's learning on the job. But one thing that these players are going to look at, like we're being touted to go and spend, say, well, Gabriel Jesus, he's worked with Arteta before, so he'll know what Arteta's all about anyway. But let's just say we go and spend, I don't know, £70 million on, I don't know, whoever you like, to go in midfield next to Thomas Partey. Yeah? One thing that these top players are going to look at is they're going to look at the likes of Aubameyang, Nicola Pepe, and they're going to go, well, Nicola Pepe, Arsenal's record signing, and this manager cannot get the best out of him. Doesn't play him, doesn't like him, but he cannot get the best out of him. Aubameyang, scoring 25 plus goals a season for Arsenal, then his goals dry up, and then all of a sudden he falls out with the manager, and now he's out the door. So am I going to risk my career going to Arsenal to play for Mikel Arteta, knowing full well that, it's not a guarantee that I'm going to be a mainstay in this team, because he could fall out with me at any time. Do you know what I mean? It's even like the likes of Aubameyang, which pretty much saved him his job. He's living off, for me, he's living off this FA Cup win, which Aubameyang scored the goals that won him that FA Cup. And, a couple of wrong moves, and that's it. You're out the door. I'm not saying that I disagree with the way that Arteta went about the Aubameyang thing.
He was awful the last few months, man. He was awful. Come on, let's be honest.
I do think that it was inevitable that it was going to happen eventually. And, Aubameyang's time at Arsenal had come towards an end. But it's the way and the manner in which it happened. And I think players these days are not just so much looking at, they can offer me Champions League football, they can offer me this, that, and it's like the only reason really that we got the likes of Aubameyang, Lacazette, Thomas Partey even, without Champions League football is because we offered them more money. Mm-hmm. And money will be a major factor in that. But also they will look at the manager, the direction that the club is heading in as well.
Well, I guess I get what you're saying. I don't know why. Like personally, though, I think we're all being a bit negative in the sense of we're fighting for top 4 here, boys. Well, hold on 1 second, yeah. Super chat. Tottenham gold. Is this Daniel Levy? €2, not even £2. €2. Have a word with yourself, mate. But thank you for your support, bro. Big up Irish Hotspur. There's one winner. That's Spurs. Well, it certainly ain't us with €2. Anyway, but thank you for the support. Look, I think we're being a bit negative in the sense of, we're both fighting for something here at the moment that could change everything moving forward, right? Arteta's at a point where this could change the whole scheme of things for him further down the line because the better type of players he can get in, obviously the confidence it builds. I think we've got a young squad that's growing. I really do. What I want to find out from you guys is who's got the best team and where we think it's going. I'll start with you, David, right? Because obviously you've been very frank and honest, and I respect that. I see some Spurs fans are like, oh, we got the best team, and they'll lay out a first 11 and it'll all have like 9 white names on there and maybe 2 Arsenal. So I want to hear from you what you think about your current team, and who's got the better team at the moment, mate. I want to hear it.
I don't know if you do. You won't like it. Look,
well, mate, that's all right.
No, look, sometimes I can be one of them, where it's just putting out 11 Spurs players and that's it. Before I do answer that, though, I just do want to just come in on one thing that...
Yeah, go for it, mate. Go for it. You're a guest. Go for it.
Was when you were talking about the signings. Now, the thing is, yes, you will get signings if you pay more money. You've got to ask yourself, are the ones that are motivated by money,
the ones you want?
Are they going to be the ones you want? Are they going to be the ones to win you things? Now, we've learned that lesson. We've learned it with Ndombele, who picked us over many other clubs. So we've learned that lesson very, very harshly. And trust me, anyone that has desires to win trophies, they will look at, in my opinion, if you compare, Arteta to the likes of Tuchel, Klopp, Guardiola, Conte even, where are they more likely going to go? To one of them clubs because they can see themselves winning trophies. If they pick Arsenal, it's more of a project and they're happy to be there for the money. And if people are motivated by money, and inevitably it ends up being, ending sour very, very quickly, usually within 6-7 months of them being there. So for me, I do think that is a bit of a dangerous line to cross. You can't just keep offering people money to get them in. At some stage, you have to have the ones that want to come to your club.
I think we've got rid of them, David. I think we got rid of those ones that were there for the money. Your Mustafis, your all these guys that came, your Willians, all these people that came, they came for money, right? And I think Arteta, one of his hard jobs was getting rid of all this dross.
But then you also look at the signings, Lachonga, Pepe, yes, you have like the likes of Ben White.
I don't think he's a bad signing, Ben White.
Yeah, but if I was an Arsenal fan, I'd be expecting better to come in from that, especially with year history and the players, like I said, that have come through this door before. I'd be expecting the ambition to be bringing in better than that, because you have to remember, like, it's 5 years since you finished above us. God knows how long since you've had Champions League football, and at the end of the day, that can't keep continuing. And the only way that's going to change is by bringing in players that, and aiming to go for players and having the right guy in charge and everything. To be able to attract them players to come so that you can get onto that level quicker and you can compete.
Isn't that kind of what he's doing though right now, David, in the sense of going for these younger guys that are going to grow with the team? I mean, I don't think Ben White's a bad signing, but obviously you've got Gabriel, you've got, Tierney was a great, for me, he's a good signing, but he's injured recently. Tomiyasu, another very good signing. Partey, good signing, although injured. Odegaard, 30 million. You could argue that's pretty cheap for someone from Real Madrid, 22, 23 years of age for the quality. So could you not argue, like Saka, Martinelli, Smith Rowe, that we are changing that philosophy?
In a way, but like what I mean is you would like to see, a world-class centre-back come in here, that the defenders, full-back, centre-backs, they can all learn off this guy. That one staple in midfield that you can put them youngsters around that they can all learn off. Someone that has been there in the biggest games. Just it showed them the small tricks of the trade. But do you know where I'm at? You look at the Premier League though, Lev, and you see how fast-paced it is and how quickly it's changing. You don't have time to bring in these young players and develop them. Because you're just seeing yourself fall further and further and further behind. You do not have time to do it, especially with the money that's in the game now. You've got to be able to bring in the players, get a good squad of world-class players if you can, or have world-class players dotted throughout the spine of that squad, and then bring in the players and put them around it. I think the way Arsenal are doing it maybe is a bit the other way, where the youth has gone out and it has shined. But how long can they keep doing that underneath Arteta without having the right ingredients beside them? Is Arteta the right guy to be able to get the max out of them to go and compete with the likes of a City and a Liverpool? I don't think so. With youngsters, you're going to see inconsistencies throughout the campaign. It's natural. You're going to see periods of them playing well, periods of them dropping off. And at a club like Arsenal and the size of it, that's not acceptable. At somewhere like Brighton, I would say that's acceptable. Even at Tottenham Hotspur, I would.
David, how do we compete then? Because you guys have got the same problem. Because I've recently heard is it City or Chelsea operating at £900,000 a week loss, and it's just written off. Don't worry about it. How else do you compete with that, Brandon? I'll bring this to you. How else do you compete with that?
Well, I just wanted to add to what David was just saying as well. I can't even remember what I was going to say now.
Oh, sorry, Brandon. Sorry, mate.
Yeah, how do we compete? I mean, well, just look at Liverpool.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like Liverpool, they don't spend massive amounts of money. I know they have done recently and stuff like that, but they're very similar in terms of their owners. American, not, massively favoured by the fans up until recently. And they've brought in Klopp, and he's pretty much just, he's just turned Liverpool into a force again, And I think the biggest thing is recruitment. Recruitment has to be correct. I look at Liverpool and the way that Klopp rebuilt that team, for example. Now, I think the mistake what majority of top Premier League clubs make is they think that when they're rebuilding a squad, let's go and buy this player from Serie A or La Liga, or, because they're brilliant in La Liga and they're brilliant in Serie A, forgetting that it takes a lot of time sometimes for players to settle in and get used to the pace of the Premier League. Now, what Liverpool did, and they did very well, is they brought the best of the rest from the Premier League. They brought in the likes of Sadio Mane, even, I'm trying to think now.
Well, even Salah came to Chelsea and left.
Yeah.
And all that sort of thing. So
you got Jordan Henderson in there. I know he was already there, but you've got players.
Robertson.
They brought in Premier League proven players. They went to lower leagues, lower teams down the league, and they nicked their best players. And I think that's why Liverpool turned into this force pretty damn quick, because these players were already used to the pace of the Premier League. They worked for Klopp's system as well and how he wants to play. And I think you're seeing that a little bit with Arteta. You know, he's not buying players based off how good they are necessarily, more about whether they fit in his system. And I think with Liverpool, they're the prime example. You know, you go and buy players that are Premier League proven, you'll get results. For me, you know, it's not very often that, well, I say it's not very often, but it isn't very often that you pick up a player from a foreign league and they hit the ground running. It's kind of unheard of, you know. Aguero, you could argue, he hit the ground running at City. Even Aubameyang.
Who?
Kulusevski.
Kulusevski, yeah, he hit the ground running as well.
Bentancur,
There's not that many players really that just come in and, you know, spark into life all of a sudden. So it's kind of like, I think recruitment needs to be better. I think that's how you compete with the likes of Man City and Chelsea even, because, yeah, they've got a lot of money, but it's all right having a lot of money. But if you don't spend it well and you don't spend it in the right areas, then you end up being Manchester United, you know. They've got loads of money. They've spent loads of money. But look at where they are. And it's because they don't have a system. They don't have a philosophy. They don't have the correct mentality. That's why they are where they are.
All right. So who's got the best team is what I want to hear, though, guys. Who has the best team going in? Because I'll tell you what, David, our mentality as Arsenal fans is Son and Kane. The rest we can handle, right? Obviously, Kulusevski has come in. He's done a decent job. Bentancur has done all right. I'm not going to lie. He's done okay. And you guys needed that in midfield, because one thing you were lacking is midfielders, right? And where you guys do struggle is with a low block. We've seen that over the entire season. So if someone sits back, takes away the space for Son to run into, Harry Kane, suddenly there's an issue. And so that has helped, but you still do struggle with it. I'd be interested to hear from Brandon in a moment how he thinks we're going to set up, how I think we will set up, because I can see Arteta potentially going into a back three and saying, you guys need to win. You need to win, right? So who's got the best team, and David, how do you see yourself setting up?
Look, I look at it, and I don't mean to say this, but I do think Tottenham have the better team. And look, I look at Arsenal. For me, they just don't give me the same fear factor going into these games that they used to when they had the better players in charge, more under Arsene Wenger. They don't give me the same fear factor. I look at Romero. I think he's better than any defender in the Tottenham squad and better than any defender in the Arsenal squad.
Isn't it a bit soon to judge that highly, though? I mean, I know he's done a good job, but you have had examples of someone coming in having a great first season and then being poor the next season.
No, but look, what I will say with this, trust me, this guy is different. Everyone says this, every rival channels I hear saying, you know, going into the games that surely this guy can't be that good.
No, I've seen him. He's a good defender.
Yeah, he's very
struggled
good.
a bit against Liverpool when closed down on the ball, though.
Yeah, look, one thing he does do is he takes a lot of risk on the ball. But I don't mind that. For too long, I've seen Sanchez, Dyer, Davies balloon long balls up to Harry Kane or Sonny and not even give them a fighting chance to win it. And all you're doing is just gifting the ball back to the opposition and putting yourself under pressure. We need players that can play out from the back into the midfield and get the likes of Kane and Son on the ball. And that's what Romero's done since he's come in. You know, he's an unbelievable tackler. Anyone that comes up against him, his first tackle, he crunches them. And I've watched players this season.
Yeah, he's an aggressive defender.
I've watched players this season get on the ball and change their game, almost pass it backwards, pass it sideways, because they do not want to get hurt. They do not want to take him on because he's already won the physical battle. I look into midfield. I look at your midfield. First of all, I don't know how Granit Xhaka is still in that midfield. The guy threw the jersey down and walked off. Should be nowhere near the football club. If someone done that to my club, I would be pissed. El Neni, look, for me, he's been there a long time. But I do think that Højbjerg and Bentancur have a better partnership in there. It's starting to develop very, very nicely. And I look at Bentancur. I think, like you said, Levy's exactly what we needed. I couldn't watch any more of a guy of Harry Winks, running straight.
Overrated, by the way, Harry Winks, man.
Oh, I agree with you. Honestly, my biggest problem is that guy at Tottenham. There's so many fans, that were loving this guy and defending this guy.
Yeah, they wanted him to be like a Mount or a Saka type young guy coming through, but I've just never seen.
He doesn't have it up here. He does not have it up here, my man. And 9/10 of being a professional footballer, everyone and most people have ability, but the difference between making it to the Premier League and not is having it up here 9 times out of 10. And with Winks, he doesn't have that. What he was doing is he was running straight up to the centre back, looking to take the ball off, but then he'd be pressed and he'd give it straight back to them or pop it sideways, and it wasn't progressive enough. And teams were just pressing us and making us kick it long and taking the ball back off us. But since Bentancur has come in, he's got on the ball, he's turned, and it's straight into Harry Kane's feet. He's been an unbelievable signing since he's come in. He was needed. But the one I've been most impressed with is Kulusevski. I know a lot of fans maybe might not rate this guy, but look, he's come in. He didn't start his first game till more or less middle of February because there was international break and stuff like that after we signed him. He's got 8 goals and 3 assists. He's got better numbers than some of them Arsenal players that have been there all season. He has hit the ground come running in. He's a young guy, and to come in and link up with the likes of Kane and Son, when you've seen so many players perform that have been brought for that position, failed, and guys that are older than him, for him to come in and hit the ground running the way he has done and seamlessly just slot in, and it gives us a whole dangerous front three right across the line rather than just having a Son and Kane. Because what I was seeing at times last season, teams would press us from the centre to the left, knowing that was our only danger, take the ball off us and go and attack. It was too easy. But Kulusevski has changed that. Now we keep the whole defence honest right across the back line. I even look at Ramsdale and Lloris. I mean, look.
Oh, right, let's do it from there then. Ramsdale, Lloris, who's better goalie?
Do you know what? I'd give it to you. I think he's got a very good goalkeeper. I think he will be a good goalkeeper in the future. But look, when I look at it, Hugo Lloris has 20 North London derbies to his name, making 21 tomorrow. Plus, outside of Emerson and it's Alisson, he has the most clean sheets in the Premier League, so it's got to be Hugo.
Ooh. Okay, Brandon, let's do it like this. Brandon, do you agree with the Ramsdale Lloris argument? Because some would say Lloris had his time and he's now sort of fading out and he's more like the old school type goalie in the sense that he's not that great on the ball with his feet, right? He's like he was a very good goalie. When he first came into the Spurs, he was top notch. But you have seen over the year or two he's declining, whereas Ramsdale's on the way up. Do you agree that Lloris is a better goalie than Ramsdale? Would you swap Ramsdale for Lloris?
Based off of what's happened this season, no. Definitely not. Definitely not. In terms of, do I think Ramsdale's a better goalkeeper than Lloris? Time will tell. Time will tell because, again, I look at the Leno situation at Arsenal. He came in and his first season, he was very, very good. And then he's kind of just sort of fallen off from there. I'm not saying that Leno's a bad goalkeeper or anything like that, but he's just kind of fallen away. And I don't want to put myself in a position where Ramsdale ends up doing the same thing. But what I would say about Ramsdale this season is you look at when he signed for Arsenal, no Arsenal fan wanted him. No Arsenal fan. I don't remember seeing any Arsenal fan saying, yes, I want Aaron Ramsdale. Now, to come in to Arsenal Football Club under that amount of pressure already, with the fans saying, I don't want this guy, knowing full well that you have to prove them wrong, and to put in the performances that he's put in, and to save the team points as well. I remember that absolutely blinding save from a James Maddison free kick against Leicester.
Mega saves, yeah.
So many saves and stops that he's pulled out this season that have saved Arsenal points and has got us into a position to where we are now. So for me, Aaron Ramsdale has to be in goal over Hugo Lloris. I know Lloris has got...
I'm kind of seeing where this is going to go.
Lloris' performance against Aston Villa in the first half, he purely kept us in it for the win.
I know Lloris has got more clean sheets this season, but what I would say to that is you're playing with a back five. Do you know what I mean? Like, we're playing a back four. Ramsdale has saved us points. is it so much that Lloris has saved Tottenham points, or is it the fact that you're playing more of a defensive system? That's what I would say. And then also on top of that, I do, however,
last year, you'd understand why we have to play a 5 at the back. Trust me.
I do, however, in recent weeks, think that Ramsdale needs to calm himself down a little bit because he gets a bit carried away. He's a big personality. You can see that he's a massive personality. But it doesn't matter for me whether Hugo Lloris has played 20 or North London derbies or whatever. Ramsdale's got that mentality. He's got that winner mentality, and for me,
point is, though, if you're a top keeper, you don't get 20 North London derby appearances. It's the longevity. And look, don't get me wrong. I didn't see Ramsdale being a good sign at the time. I was like most fans. I was laughing. I was like, hang on, why would you stand Martinez? I'm bringing Ramsdale. But look, gotta give you his credit. I mean, I think he is a very good goalkeeper, but the numbers don't lie. He's got more clean sheets than Aaron Ramsdale. And look, I know you're saying a back 5 to a back 4, but this is a back 5 that consists of Davies, Dyer. Our wing backs have been chopping and changing, and they actually operate more as attacking players than what they do defenders. And for me, like, look, Hugo Lloris, that back 5, it may be helping us in terms from open play, but believe me, from set pieces, each week we get absolutely battered. We are horrendous from set pieces. And Hugo Lloris does get tested. Don't get me wrong, he's had a few mistakes this season, but I really think Hugo Lloris is underrated. Even you hear Sky Sports, they do these exposes on Ramsdale and De Gea and Ederson, Alisson, Schmeichel. Never ever put Hugo Lloris in that bracket. But he's
because he's not won anything. Maybe that's what it is.
Yeah.
When you win something, people give you a lot of like kudos. Oh, he's won titles. He's done. It could be that. But let's move it on because like we're an hour and 10 minutes in and we haven't even got through our 11. Go on, Brandon.
Maybe he's been better this season for Spurs because he's stopped with the old Hennessy. Drink driving and all that lot.
Yeah.
I mean, I take your argument 100%, but for me, it's Ramsdale. I mean, look at the pressure that he was under before he'd even kicked the ball for Arsenal. The fact, imagine what that would do to you mentally, knowing that no Arsenal fan wants you at their football club. You're instantly under pressure before you've even kicked the ball. So for him to put in performances like he has this season, Ramsdale over Lloris for me.
You might want to be careful. You might get your relegation. We all know his record.
Oh, mate, come on, leave it out. Let us know in the chat as well. So, right, let's try to make it quicker now. So, Tomiyasu, you got to also remember, guys. You mentioned the midfield as well, but you mentioned Xhaka and El Neni. That's not our starting 11. Do you know what I mean? In the sense of their injuries, but it's going to be our starting 11, I guess. But you can look at it either way. You could either put our best. I think we'll go with our best players, but obviously we know it's going to be different on Sunday. Tomiyasu right back compared to your right back.
What right back?
Right. So are we Tomiyasu? Yeah.
Tiramisu gets in there every day.
Tiramisu's in. We got one in already. Okay. You agree with that, Brandon?
Yeah, 100%.
Okay. Left back. Fit Tierney over your boy.
Look, Conte prefers Sessegnon, but I prefer Reguilon. But look, there's been a bit of inconsistency from both.
I've not liked Reguilon. I've watched him a few times. I just don't get the hype.
Do you know what it is? He just, in terms of a Conte system and what he expects from the wing-backs going forward, I think he offers a bit more than what Sessegnon does. Could we do better in that position? 100%. And look, if I'm being honest with myself, I mean, I will get. Look, technically he shouldn't be in it because he's not.
Just be honest, David. Just be honest.
I will. Technically, I shouldn't give it because he's not available. But I do like Tierney. Look,
and you're allowed to put your injured players in as well, by the way.
Hey, that's not a problem. We'll put Cedric at right back, Tomiyasu at left back. Not a problem.
No, you can have Kieran Tierney. I like him. I think he's a good player.
Okay, good. So Tierney's in. Okay, so we all know that you want Romero centre back. Based on what you said. Do you know what? I'll have to give you Romero. I will give you Romero. Brandon?
No, I agree.
Romero over White?
I think Romero should be in there. I think he's a very good defender. Technically very good as well. I do think he has a mistake in him, though. I kind of see that a little bit.
Don't they all?
From the back. But for me, next to Romero, it has to be Gabriel. I'm not a massive fan of Ben White myself.
I agree with you on Gabriel. What about you, David?
Yeah, look, I'm not a massive fan of Dyer or Davies, so I will concede and give you Gabriel.
Yeah, and I've given you Romero 100, right? So there you go. So far we've got. This is a tough one because you want Lloris, he wants Rams, and to be honest with you, Eva's a decent goalie. You wouldn't be complaining if you had either one in goal, would you? So it's not a major deal. So we could agree to disagree on that. I would go Ramsdale, you'll go Lloris, but the midfield. Now this is where I think a fit squad. This is where I think we trump you, David, right? But unfortunately we don't. But usually I think a midfield consisting of Partey, Xhaka, and Odegaard, is better than I think Højbjerg's all right. He's like a bit like a Danny Drinkwater to me. He's a ball carrier. He does all the dirty work that no one else wants to do. But I don't think he's the most creative of midfielders. I'd go Partey, Xhaka, Odegaard in midfield if they're all fit. What would you do, David, with your midfield? If you had a choice to pick our guys and your guys.
Are we going with three in midfield?
Should we go 3 in midfield, Brandon?
Yeah, go 3 in midfield.
3 in midfield. Yeah. Let's go 3 in midfield.
Well, look, I'd put Bentancur and Højbjerg in there, and we have no other centre midfielders outside of that. So the next one I would put in there, and I'd let you have the pick whether you want Odegaard or Partey, but Elneny and Xhaka are getting nowhere near into this midfield. For me, look, Bentancur, I think he's been magnificent since he's come in. And Højbjerg, look, he's been one of our most consistent players since he's got here. He does all the dirty work, and every team needs a player like that in their team. You can guarantee the likes of Kane and the Son and a Bentancur, and that really appreciate the work Højbjerg does. And he's getting a lot better in terms of his passing and getting forward. For me, it's got them two have to be in it, and then
so you go Højbjerg, Bentancur, and Partey.
Yeah.
Brandon.
See, if we're going off of what we've got to choose from at this present moment,
we're not though. Just go with your.
I know we're not. But if we're going off of what we've got to choose from at this present moment, Elneny's getting in there purely and simply because he's been a revelation since he's come back into the team. So for me,
good point.
It would be Elneny and one of either Højbjerg or Bentancur. Or if we're going off all fit players, I would give you either one of Højbjerg or Bentancur, but next to Thomas Partey. And then in the number 10 role, it has to be Martin Odegaard for me.
All right. Okay. Fair enough. Okay. I would tend to agree with you, Brandon. I'd go to be honest with you, based on what I've seen from Spurs' midfield, although I have to be very honest and say I haven't really watched Spurs as much as I watch my team. But Højbjerg, I've known for a number of years. I've watched him, in his previous clubs, and I've seen him a few times this season. Not my favourite player. I wouldn't have him in midfield. I'd have Partey, Bentancur, perhaps. I don't know. You could go there instead of Xhaka. I'd have Bentancur instead of Xhaka. I don't know.
He's got to be in there ahead of Xhaka, surely.
I don't know.
Lev,
it's too early to say though with him, isn't it?
We need to get your brother to have a word with you, man.
What I would say is it's going to be most games are won and lost in the midfield. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens on Thursday because, like I say, Xhaka and Elneny versus Bentancur and Højbjerg, who can get the better of
we'll soon find out. It's only 24 hours before we find out. So then I guess we all agree. I would say front three. Hold on, because I think David might go Kulusevski here, but I personally would go Saka, Kane, and Son.
Yeah, look, I'm glad that there's no debate over Kane and Son. I'm glad.
No. We're honest there. Saka, Kane, and Son.
Do you know what? There's definitely a debate for Kulusevski and Saka. And look, I've had it on nearly every stream I've been on today. Look, where I stand is obviously I'm a Spurs fan, so this is a bit biased. But you look at the numbers Kulusevski has posted since he's come in mid-February. Compared to Saka, if it was a full season Kulusevski was here, them numbers would be double that. They'd be even better. But look, if you're talking about over the course of the whole season, of course you'd put Saka in. But I do believe people will only know how good Kulusevski is once they see him play against their team.
Okay, well, we'll soon find out. So would you go Kulusevski, or if your house was on it and you needed a result, would you go Saka, Kane, and Son?
No, I go with Kulusevski, Kane, and Son.
Wow. Kulusevski over Saka. This is getting serious now. Brandon.
See, for me, if you're wanting to get Kulusevski anywhere near the team, can he play number 10? You know?
He hasn't played there for us. He just sticks out onto that right-hand side.
See, if then I'd switch that up a little bit then and possibly have Kulusevski in the number 10 role over Odegaard, and then Saka, Kane and Son. For me, Son and Kane, even Kulusevski as well, because he's just on a bit of smoke at the moment. They really do worry me about Thursday, them three in particular.
I wouldn't replace Mark. I wouldn't replace Mark.
But Saka
at the moment.
Saka has to be in there. Saka has to be in there. He's been our main man this season, and he's got to be in there, Saka. He's got to be in there.
Just so you boys know, when I looked at it, I went all Arsenal and then Harry Kane and Son. So there you go. No, I know Romero was in there as well. So I gave you guys 3. Yeah, just giving you straight. But so okay, let us know in the chats as well. Let us know in the comments what your combined 11 is. I know it's going to hurt your heart to write Spurs names players, but like at the end of the day, you can do it. Give us your favorite combined 11 in the comments after the show. We will be looking at them. So guys, tomorrow it's happening. The nerves are starting now starting to tingle thinking about it, because this shit gets serious. We've already got songs. David, sorry to say this, but we've already got songs about winning titles and stuff on your ground. You know it. It's never happened to us with you guys. Thank God. Touch wood. I don't know how that feels. This is potentially another opportunity for us. We haven't done so great on your ground recently over the last few seasons. What do you see happening? And how are you going to cope if your team loses?
Look,
and is it over if you lose?
Look, if we lose, it's over. I mean, mathematically, we won't even be able to get top 4. That put you 7 points clear with 2 games.
What about a draw? How would you feel about that?
Look, you're not going to lose one and draw one in the last 2 games. You might
agree.
Dropping a point maybe against Everton last game of the season if they're still scrapping. But look, this is a must-win for Tottenham. No mistakes about it. A draw's not good enough. I worry slightly if Mikel Arteta does set up and just to purely get out of there with a point.
What Tottenham done to Liverpool, basically?
What we done to Liverpool, but when teams do that to us, we struggle. Burnley have done it, Brighton have done it, Brentford have done it.
And we're clearly going to know that.
Yeah. Look, if I was Mikel Arteta, once you take Harry Kane out, Tottenham do not create chances. In fact, we don't even get shots on goals once you take Harry Kane out, because he's been our main creator, the one that's been setting off Sonny into positions, Kulusevski into positions. So if you take him out, but like I said before, I'm not worried going into this game. I don't know why. But the North London Derby over the last couple of years does not worry me. I expect to go in there and win. But I seen a stat today. Look, only once in the Premier League as the away team won. You know, the other 18 in the Premier League in the North London Derby, the home team has won that game. 6 draws, and then the rest, the home team have won. Now, obviously, both teams have done each other in the cups and stuff like that on each other's ground. But in the Premier League, it's the home team that do tend to get the result. And we've seen that time and time again. I mean, even playing our best football, we've gone to the Emirates and we've been bet where you just don't see it coming. But look, for me, this game is different. Look, I know you slapped us 3-1, and don't get me wrong. I mean, having a North London Derby over after 45 minutes is painful. It is not a good place to be whatsoever. But we've got a change in personnel in the dugout. We've got Bentancur, Kulusevski, Romero, Davies, Sessegnon. None of them played that last game. We now have a settled team, a style of play, and that is going to be the difference going into this North London Derby. I think we'll be able to capitalise on the inexperience of Pep. I think we'll be able to capitalise on the young shoulders of the Arsenal players. They will not like walking into that Tottenham Hotspur Stadium, in my opinion. All Spurs fans fully. We're even getting out tifos for you in the South Stand tomorrow.
I've heard all sorts. I've heard someone's got planned to set off fireworks on our coaches and all sorts. I don't know if it's true. It was just, it's
North London Derby. I wouldn't surprise me if it's true, to be honest with you. It's North London Derby, but No, look, at the end of the day, I do expect Tottenham to win this, especially with G cancelling the game earlier on the season, using COVID as an excuse, even though you had players at AFCON injuries and you were selling players and stuff like that. So there's that extra spice to it. But look, ultimately, I want to avoid another St. Tottenham's Day. You know that day. It's famous. You haven't had it in quite a long time. And I want that to continue.
It's due, though. It is due because you guys have had a nice little run recently, haven't you?
I cannot have ye violating me in my home patch, dancing around, celebrating top four and St. Tottenham.
Our fans will not leave that ground if we do it. If we do it tomorrow, they won't leave that ground for a while.
No, they won't. But if we done it in your ground, I wouldn't leave for a while. I'd be there all night long,
Yeah, you never do it in our ground now, so we don't know how that feels.
It's coming. Look, times are changing, my man. It is coming.
I think you've had your time. But there you go.
Nah. It's definitely coming. Look, at the end of the day, you should respect us, Stolar, because you were homeless until we gave you a home in North London. You wouldn't have a football club without us.
What? You should be thanking us. You wouldn't have North London wouldn't have any trophies if it wasn't for us. We wrecked North London. You wrecked it. There you go.
We're the trendsetters. You copied us. We were the first one to win a European Cup. First one
says the fan that's recently moved into a new stadium, keeping up with the Joneses. But anyway, give me a prediction, Irish Hotspur.
Do you know what? And I'm not saying this just to ruffle feathers.
You say this because you're biased, and we're going to say what we're going to say because we're biased. So there you go.
People, look, I may be caught deluded on this, but I genuinely have a feeling that Tottenham will get out there with a big win. I think we'll be hurting after that.
A big win.
I'm gonna go 4-0 Tottenham. I can see it coming. Son is chasing the golden boot. Kane hasn't scored in the last two North London derbies. He's going to be 4-0. I can see it coming.
Oh, 4-0. All right. Let us know what you think of that in the chats, yeah? Because at the end of the day, 4-0. Poof. I'll tell you what, I wouldn't like to be Arsenal fans if we were on the back of a 4-0 drubbing after we've just announced the contract for Arteta. Okay, so 4-0. Brandon, give me some positivity, bro. What's going down tomorrow?
No way is it ever going to be 4-0. I'll tell you now. If we leave that pitch tomorrow and we've lost 4-0, then I want the manager, the owners, and all the players out. There's so much riding on this.
Unbelievable.
The thing that's it's such a tough one to call because for me, our midfield's very, very similar. Spurs, they trump us in attacking areas, no doubt about it. Harry Kane and Son, Son's just been on absolute fire this season. I think it depends a lot on our manager. It really does, and how he sets up. I think, like David was just saying, I want to see Arteta set up in a similar way to Antonio Conte. 3 at the back, push the wing backs high, push them back, and then look, we don't need to win this game, but we could hit them on the counter and score a few goals. What I would say is don't give Harry Kane the space, don't give Son the space to run into, and neutralise their threats, and then think about what we can do in terms of winning the game. But for me, the pressure isn't on us. The pressure is on Spurs. Where it kind of favours Spurs is the last time we beat them at their ground in the Premier League was 8 years ago, Thomas Rosicky. And the last time that we beat them at their ground in any sort of fixture was the Carabao Cup when Matthew Flamini scored 2 goals. So
now a billionaire.
History, suggests that, like David was saying, the away team doesn't tend to do that great. But with the fact that, we can qualify for Champions League football mathematically and end Tottenham's season tomorrow, I'm all for it. And these players had better be up for it as well, and this manager, because I tell you now, if they're not, then you don't deserve to be at Arsenal Football Club. This game, forget about the fact that we only need a draw, and we, I don't want the team to go in with that mindset. I want the team to go in with that setup from the manager, but with the mindset that we're going to win this game. I want, it doesn't matter to me that we've got Newcastle and Everton to secure top 4. I want them to secure top 4 tomorrow against these lot. It would just be like old times, like when we celebrated winning the league at their ground twice, not once, twice. It'll be a similar sort of thing. So for me,
give me a result, Brandon.
Get the job done, Arsenal. Seriously, I'm going with 3-1 Arsenal.
He's had too much sugar, my man. He's had too much sugar
says the man who's just said 4-0.
You're not coming into our home ground and slapping us 3-1. That's not happening.
I'm going 3-1. I think it's going to happen.
Listen, I think it's going to be a nervy affair. I really do. I'm an Arsenal fan. I've lived it all my life. I know what Arsenal are like. It's going to be nervy. I don't think it's going to be big scoring. I really don't. If it is, it might be 2-2, something like that. But I really think that I think Arsenal will set up the way you're saying, Brandon. I think Arteta will look at it. He set up the similar way against Chelsea. Look to get them on the counter. As time goes on and the clock ticks away, if they haven't scored, it's going to start to stress them out further. They're going to commit themselves further. And I think that's our best opportunity. Personally, I think tomorrow's going to be a draw, but I would love us to do it at White Hart Lane, the bowl, the toilet bowl, whatever you want to call it. It is a nice stadium, though. So look, I've gone draw. Brandon's gone 3-1. Irish Hotspurs gone 4-0. Yeah, I don't know what he's smoking in that vape, but I want some. Let us know in the chats what you think the result's going to be. Let us know what your combined's going to be. Do not kiss that thing in front of me. Oh my God. Why did I agree to do this? No, I appreciate that, bro. So anyway, let us know what's going to happen tomorrow. Let us know what your predictions are. Let us know what your mixed 11 is. And then we'll be back tomorrow with the match reaction if we win. Because I don't know if I want to come on if we lose. Come on. So listen, this is huge now. I'm starting to get nervous because I'm saying I'm doing a match reaction show tomorrow and I do not want to come on after we've just lost to the scumbag.
Are you coming on, David?
David, if you lose, you want to come on?
What time are you going live, please?
It'll be straight after the game, mate.
See, I usually do watch-alongs, and sometimes they can drag out for a bit. So I might, if it was a bit later after the game, I'd be able to make
trust me, if they win, it'll be sending me a message going, "Oi, there'll be a link," and I'll be ignoring it. It's as simple as that.
Set a time, Lev. Set a time, and me, whenever David's available as well, we'll both come back on.
Right?
We'll give our
Game's
reaction.
on at 8, yeah? Game's on at 8, I would imagine. 7:45 or 8, which one is it?
7:45, I think.
Okay, so we're looking what 10 o'clock-ish, aren't we? 7:45, 8:45, then 9 o'clock again. 9:30, 10 o'clock, isn't it? We usually. What time do your watch-alongs go on till, Dave? I tell you what, we could sort this logistics and all this stuff out offline. How about that? Yeah. So listen, guys, it's been the Arsenal Lounge. North London Derby is tomorrow. You guys best be watching tomorrow. And I tell you what, I'm going to be on, and I'll probably have a few drinks if we've won tomorrow, celebrating Champions League football. So join us tomorrow on the Arsenal Lounge at around 10 o'clock. Keep an eye out for your notifications where you'll see me, Brandon, having a drink, celebrating, clinching top 4, and hopefully David, the Irish Hotspur, will be coming and drowning his sorrows live on air as well. But listen, David, I appreciate you coming on, bro. I really do. I love the minerals. I love the way you put things. You're honest generally, apart from when it comes to 11. And bruv, anytime you need anything, let us know. Is there anything you want to, say here before we go?
I just want to say thank you so much. I've actually really enjoyed the conversation. Good, honest talk as well, which sometimes can be hard between Tottenham and Spurs fans. And I just want to say you've treated me with absolute class. And who said that? We can't get along. At the end of the day, it's a rivalry. But it's banter. But you guys are
yes, man. Humanity first, morality first, football banter, and a bit of rivalry second. But thank you for coming on and taking the time to share your thoughts with us. And Brandon, anything you'd like to leave us with before we go, bro?
Nah, just come on, Arsenal, get the job done, please. I don't want to be coming here tomorrow complaining. Please.
I don't want to go those last 2 games having to win. No, I can't take it. I can't.
This is the thing as well.
No, David, I don't. There you go. That's
my answer. This is the thing as well. People think it's cut and dry, right?
No,
it's not. No. Newcastle is our fixture after Tottenham.
And then a relegation fight in Everton. Yeah,
we struggle against Newcastle away, and then we got Everton who are fighting down the bottom there. It's not cut and dry, I tell you.
But unlike you lot, David, we got 3 hits at this, because if we lose to you tomorrow, which won't happen, we still got a chance to beat Newcastle, and we still got a chance. We still got a chance to secure it. Whereas if you guys lose tomorrow, it's sayonara. So yeah. So on that note, guys, let's hope we got a lovely result for the Gooners tomorrow. David, mate, pleasure having you on. Brandon, pleasure having you on. This has been the Arsenal Lounge. Peace out, everyone. Come on, you Arsenal. I knew he was going to do that, David. Come on, you Arsenal.
Come on, you Spurs.